Welcome to r/IDoWorkHereLady, where we share stories about employees that are mistaken for customers. And for today, we have 4 fantastic stories. So subscribe, hit the like button, and here we go. The first story is, yes sir, I'm working in your yard. You have an appointment. I'm a service technician for the gas company. I'm also the only female service technician for the gas company. This leads to confusion on a daily basis. So I arrived to a 9 to 12 appointment the other day at 9:05 a.m. Super simple job. Exchange gas meter, inspect gas equipment in the house, relight equipment, then be on my way to my next call. We get 30 minutes allotted for each job like this, but dispatch understands that this doesn't always work. Sometimes it takes 15 minutes if the old meter was installed well and the gas equipment is all new. But sometimes it takes 3 hours if I have to rebuild their whole service and coax an old boiler back to life. I grab my tools out of the truck, grab a new meter, and head to the front door. The call says, hazard, dog, so I figure it's best to check in with the customer before I head into the yard. I knock and ring the doorbell, no answer. So I pull the customer's number off of the call and give him a ring. Me, good morning. This is Functionarende from the gas company. You have a meter exchange appointment booked for this morning. Is anyone at home? Customer, not at the moment. Is the tech there already? Me, yes sir, I'm here at the address. Will you be home soon? Customer, yes, tell the tech to wait. I'll be home in about 15 minutes. Me, okay, I'll wait for you. Can I start working in the yard or is your dog outside? But the customer just hangs up, so I decide to wait. Anyway, it's negative 28 degrees Celsius, negative 40 with the wind chill. I'm bundled up, but I'm gonna be outside all day, so I decide to wait in the truck to preserve my warmth. I drop my tools and the new meter off at the gate to the yard and sit in my truck until my customer pulls into the driveway. When the customer arrives, I immediately sit my truck off and jog over to the house. Customer, so I spoke with someone in the office and they said the tech was already here. Where is he? I have to get back to work soon. I can't wait here all morning. Me, I am the tech, sir, and that was me that you spoke with. If you're all good, I'll get that meter changed out for you. Then get your furnace and water heater going. Customer, well, if you say so, but if that's the case, where are your tools? Me, over by the gate. I left them there so they'd be ready to go when you got here. Customer, okay, so how long have you been doing this? Me, this specifically? A little over a year. Working in the industry, almost 9 years. Customer, okay, go ahead. You don't have anyone coming to help you? Me, no sir, this is a very simple job. I should be able to have it done in 15 to 20 minutes or so. And the call said you have a dangerous dog. Is it contained? Customer, he's a 12-year-old beagle. You're fine. I don't know why anyone thought he was dangerous. So I could have started almost 3/4 of an hour ago at this point, and my next 2 calls were in jeopardy because of how long I'd been here at this point. So I get to work, and sure enough, his meter set is in pretty rough shape. I pull the meter off with some difficulty and my largest wrenches, and then start cranking some of the bad fittings out, so I can rebuild part of the set, to make this job easier the next time we have to change the meter, and generally safer. He was leaning over my shoulder the whole time, continually asking if I was sure I know what I'm doing, if I really don't need to call for help. I got my fitting done and went inside. Sure enough, the gas equipment was all high efficiency. So all it took was a couple of resets to clear out the air bubbles, and it all fired up perfectly. The call took about an hour once I actually had my tools on, which is a little longer than anticipated, but a very good time frame for the work I wound up having to do to leave the place in a safe condition. A very good time frame, mind you, for any tech who could have had the call. As I was gathering my things to go, he got one last jab in. You know, I would really appreciate it if they would actually send a real tech next time. I don't feel comfortable having one of the office girls doing this kind of work for me. I'm gonna have a word with the gas company and tell them as much. Me, sir, for the last time, I am a qualified service technician. The next customer was a very sweet old lady who met me at the door and immediately presented me with muffins. They told me you were coming, even though it should be illegal to work in this temperature. I made muffins. Take them. You deserve it. They really shouldn't be making you work in this. The second story is, entitled customer can't read. This is my first time posting, so I don't know if this is the right thread or not. Let me know and I'll post it elsewhere if it's the wrong one. So, a little backstory on this place I used to work at. I used to work as a loss prevention agent at a warehouse that would process lost mail orders. We would have everything from car parts to gun parts, to expensive jewelry, and pretty much anything else that you can think of that people might order online. Once a week, the warehouse would open to the public to auction off these items. For the most part, I would be in the security office watching the cameras, while the other members of my team, which also included off-duty police officers, but sometimes I would have to work out on the floor, or the parking lot if we were low on security for that night. This being a seedier part of town, and the warehouse offering major discounts on high-dollar items, we would get a lot of characters in there. Most of them were repeat customers that attended on a weekly basis. They knew how everything worked and were relatively painless to deal with. On the opposite side of that, we would get newcomers all the time, who thought they'd be able to throw their bucks around and strong-arm anyone who might bid on something that they would want. This story is about a night where I was working in the parking lot, directing traffic. It was not built to handle the traffic we would get on auction night. Our biggest problem there was usually people trying to park in the employee parking area. This is where entitled customer shows up. He whips his car through the parking lot, with no regard for the foot traffic of the customers making their way in, and zooms past me, as I'm standing in the middle of the employee parking entrance, as if I wasn't even there. EC gets out of his car with his family. It was a Mercedes SUV, by the way, and has this look on his face that just screams, I'm entitled to anything and everything, and no one can convince me otherwise. I approach entitled customer. Excuse me, sir, you can't park here. It's reserved for the employees. You're gonna have to find a spot somewhere else. Entitled customer replies, who are you to tell me where I can park? How do I know you're not trying to save it for someone else? I should note that I'm wearing a full security guard uniform, which consists of a polo with the company name, and the word security next to it, a duty belt with taser, handcuffs, my LP badge, and my gun. Like I said, this was a bad part of town, and there have been plenty of attempted break-ins. Sir, I'm security here, and I'm telling you that you can't park here in the employee lot. Yeah, right, you're just trying to scam me out of my spot. I'm a little irritated at this point. I have a bit of a short fuse when it comes to guys like this. I blame my time in the Marines. So, I raise my voice a bit. Sir, you need to move your vehicle now. He's a little taken aback, probably because he hasn't been spoken to like that in a long time, if not ever. At this point, he finally realizes that I'm not just some random guy that decided to harass him, and tries a different tactic. Well, I don't see any other cars here, so where are these employees? He actually does the finger quotes. I'm finally done with this guy and lose any tact that I had left. I don't really care what you can and cannot see. I told you to move your car, so you'll move it now or it will be towed. Try it, rent-a-cop. My dad is a retired police officer and knows every cop in this city, and I'll make your life a living heck. As I've mentioned before, we have off-duty cops working for us. Plus, another member of my team was a detective in the city for 30 years and was a member of the PD board. So we had a great relationship with the PD. I wasn't worried about anything. Well then, you can have him call the impound lot after your car gets towed. I'm pretty loud at this point, and some of the other customers are staring. Entitled customer scoffs and starts heading back to his car. You've made a huge mistake, rent-a-cop. Have fun in jail tonight. He then proceeds to drive off and leaves. Once again, way too fast, and this time nearly hitting me. Nothing ever came of it afterwards, so either he was lying about his dad, or his dad didn't have as much clout as he seemed to think. Never saw him ever again. This turned out longer than I anticipated, so sorry if it seemed like I was rambling on. The third story is, yes, I am a tutor teacher. I recently found this sub, thanks to our friends on YouTube, and thought to myself I would share my story with you that happened to me a few weeks ago. So, I study physics for my bachelor degree in university, and because I'm still young with just 20, I need money, so I'm not a full-on leech to my parents. Given I don't have a full-on set schedule yet to my studying, and I'm very inconsistent, I needed a job where I can basically just come and go. And since there are multiple tutor teaching centers where students and other people can just go to either get help or teach, I decided this would be perfect for me. After all, I can do math and physics for regular schoolwork pretty well. So this happened on a Thursday. I have about 4 to 5 hours to spare in between, and just go to the center and see if there was any help needed. Note, they pay you for tutor lessons, and if there's no one needed, you can just sit around and do your own work. Introduce middle-aged lady and her son. Let's call her Karen. So Karen came in and walked up to the front desk and said her son has a hard math exam on the next day, and she needed a double lesson immediately. Anyone that has given tutor lessons before knows how hard it is to rework everything for an exam on the next day in 2 hours. Well, as I was there, and currently also the only one available to give a math tutor lesson, especially a double one, she called me up and already handed me the prepared paperwork for the lesson. What grade the son was in, topics to cover, and the amount of time I had. Note that I'm a pretty big guy with long hair and a full beard. This is important. I normally try to be friendly, but hey, appearance is the first impression. As the lady sees me and the receptionist explains that I could teach, Karen's face almost fell apart, and she asked if there was anyone else but me that could teach her son. Upon being questioned why, Karen explained, I doubt anyone like him could teach my son proper math. As I said before, almost anyone can come and teach there. I was quite offended by this, as I do invest a lot of time in my studies and do get good grades. Anyways, the receptionist kept explaining that I was the only one currently here, over which Karen demanded to see the manager. Well, the manager came, and I decided to just go back to doing my work, as exams were coming up. After about 20 minutes, and some yelling I couldn't fully understand, The manager came to me and told me that Karen wasn't allowed to come here anymore, and that she called me an uneducated drug addict, but eventually left in embarrassment after being shown both my grades and current education. Fair to say it's a story I still laugh a lot about, and ever since then I try to keep at least my hair somehow tied back and wear more neutral shirts to not cause problems. We haven't heard of Karen since then. Please excuse any possible typing mistakes in this. I study physics for a reason. The last story is, Dad tries to tell German FBI to leave. This is not 100% fitting to this sub, but it is a funny story, so I thought why not share it? It's not my story but my dad's, but close enough. This was the day after Christmas, and my grandpa stayed at our place because the next day would be his birthday. FYI, my grandpa had a few heart attacks in December already, and very early in the morning, like 5 a.m., he got the symptoms he always had before the other ones, so he called for my parents. My dad gave his dad the medicine he was given by the hospital the last time, and they were supposed to wait for an hour, but my grandpa insisted after 2 minutes that nothing changed, and told my dad to call an ambulance. My dad stopped arguing after 10 minutes and called the ambulance. I live in Germany, so no expenses. At this point, I finally woke up from the dog. She sleeps in my room, thinking it was time to wake up and waking me. My dad told me to keep the dog in my room and that they just called an ambulance. They arrived a few minutes later and started caring for my grandpa and do their job. My dad went to close the door behind them and saw a black car outside in front of our house with 2 dudes with weapons. Civilians never carry weapons out in the open like that, and they were obviously some kind of police. He never told me why he realized they were police, but he said he did. He told them that they could leave, as they did not require police assistance. It was just a medical emergency. They kinda smiled and told them that they would stay anyways, and my dad asked them to come in then. It was slightly raining and cold. They declined again, still amused, and just asked him not to close the door. My dad was confused, but had other problems and decided not to worry about it. When he got into the living room where my grandpa was treated, he then recognized one of the paramedics. It was Joseph Schuster. That's not a name most people are familiar with, but he's the president of the Central Council of Jews in Germany. He's basically the most influential Jew living in Germany. While we're not in any way the way we were, back then, there are still some Nazis around, and they would surely have a blast boasting about killing or attacking someone like him. The police outside were Kriminalpolizei, kind of the German equivalent of the FBI, and were there to protect him in case someone attacked him. It's the kind of story my dad loves to tell anyone who will listen. My grandpa's at home again. We had to cancel our vacation with him, but he's stubborn and continues eating unhealthy and not doing any kind of activity, so maybe they will be at our door again soon. Thank you for watching. Have a good one.